Let's talk about being processed as a threat and the actual threat, fight, or flight response. So, all these things start to trigger and you go, oh my god, this is the threat, right? Mm-hmm. And then we switch from the higher cognitive functions down to the primitive brainstem automatic reaction functions. They've shown...
Primitive, primal,
Yeah, they've shown, like, physiologically, you can see it. There is less blood flow going to the higher parts of the brain than there is the brainstem when someone is in fight or flight. So literally, they are using different parts of their brain. The more primitive, the more react rather than respond.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to go into is... You don't think before you say or before you do things. You're just on autopilot.
You just automatically do. There's no impulse control.
Because you're being guided by instinct and not by...
logic or reason
or further any type of higher cognition. For all intents and purposes, you are operating on the base level of human animalistic functioning all the time, and it's exhausting.
So what happens in this? And by the way, yes, it's pretty much a 24/7 thing. I mean, there's this cycle that people go through that we're going to talk about in a second here.
Yeah, we're going to get there, yeah.
But it's not meant to be a thing that is on 24/7 because, number one, it leads to impulse control issues, which is why you see so many people with Asperger's having impulse control issues.
Yeah.
Number two, tunnel vision, because what happens is your immune system is actually heightens your digestion, lowers muscles, activate a whole bunch of adrenaline is pumped into the system. All these things happen as soon as you go threat, like it's an immediate, if someone makes a really loud noise, then you get this immediate spike of adrenaline that you can just viscerally feel.
I just felt it. God, that echoed throughout the room.
Yeah. So it also leads to, the tunnel vision, the one-track mindedness, and then selective hearing as well. All these things, as far as the body is concerned, you don't need to learn things. You don't you can only need to hear specific things. Your singular focus is get away from the threat or fight the threat or resolve the threat in some fashion.
And that's all you're thinking about subconsciously. That's all that's going on.
This produces a ton of adrenaline, which gives you tons of energy, which is that wound up feeling. Now, if you remember, people with Asperger's have a hard time putting sensations in places.
Yeah.
So you have a whole bunch of energy, and you go, I don't know what to do with this. And so you feel very wound up.
Yes.
And very agitated.
When I get really agitated when I'm in defense mode, my body tightens up a lot.
That's what happens.
I was at my first fencing class last night ever, and I was kind of in defense mode because it was a brand new situation with brand new people and it was a brand new sport. And the instructor told me 3 times, like, dude, loosen your body up. But I was unconsciously tensing up. And you're supposed to be loose when you fence, what I learned last night. So he said, like, he could see me like, just trembling with the sword in my hand. I didn't even notice that. It was just happening. So that gave me a good idea of, and that was great because it's material to use today. Now that I'm out of defense mode, and it's really interesting, but it's also something that we are exploring and addressing with you because that's not a good mode to be in all the time.
So, want to totally reiterate this: none of this is conscious. You cannot tell. I could not go up to Hayden last night. Hayden, stop trembling, and he would just go okay and stop.
Yeah,
it doesn't work like that.
Because, like I said, I didn't notice that I was trembling. He had to tell me from his outside perspective that my whole body was tensing up. My elbows were hugging my sides. I was defending myself.
Yeah.
Subconsciously. So, I wasn't meaning to do this. I wanted to learn fencing.
Yeah. So what happens is you get all tense. You get all, like, and almost like the claw. I can't move my hand. Mm-hmm. And so you get all this adrenaline. You don't know where it is. And then it overwhelms you.
Yeah.
Now, one point before we go on to that, essentially what we're doing in all this stage is looking for a threat that really isn't there or is internally. Mm-hmm. And if it is external, again, if say a chair is the threat, that's why you have people with Asperger's suddenly running out of the classroom or something because it's fight or flight. Mm-hmm. However, most of the time it's internal. It's this internal state that you cannot run from yourself. Believe me, I've tried. And you cannot fight yourself. Mm-hmm. A lot of people try again, but resisting it just makes it worse.
Yep, I'm guilty of that.
So am I. I'm guilty of both. You should ask me about the time that I was so in defense mode and I tried to run for myself that I ended up in Disney World. That was an actual thing. And it didn't work because I was still there, even though I ran across the country. However, Disney World was fun. Anyway, I digress. So you have all this internal energy and I don't know what to do with this. I'm going to try and resist it. That's not working. And I try and run from it. That's not working. So then you go into instinctually what is the last ditch effort. Hopefully I won't get extremely mauled by this, which is freeze.
Yeah.